Before we start, what if Gohan was raised by rats? The movie is out. You should check that out. I worked pretty hard on it. And I don't understand why the movies aren't doing so well, but I'll tell you that after the video. Even you all don't care about that. You just want to know what if Cooler was canon. So I'll give it to you. For all you voted, thank you. Now let's get on to the what if. We cut to the birth of Cooler. King Cole would have two children, one Cooler a year older than Frieza, but they are both very different. Cooler actually trained and fought alongside his men. This disgusted King Cole. Frieza was spoiled like him. And Cooler had great ideas of what to do with the Empire. He always wanted to expand and do better. But King Cole was scared of Beerus and thought if they just kept doing what they're doing, they would be okay. This would slowly create a rift. As the years passed, King Cole became more and more distant from Frieza. One day, as Cooler was conquering a planet, he would get a message from his father. King Cole was stepping down, and he was putting Frieza in charge. This angered Cooler. Cooler was the one who did the work. Cooler was the one who trained with his men. Cooler was the one who took over planets, and Cooler was the one who spread the word of the Empire. So why? Why does Frieza take power? All he ever does is talk to King Cole and sit on his lazy ass. Cooler was angry as he flew over to their capital planet, landed and demanded to talk to his father. King Cole walked out and said, "What is it, Cooler? Why'd you choose Frieza over me?" King Cole laughed and said, "Isn't it obvious? All you ever do is fight and expand our empire, which is nice, but you act like a grunt. That's all you ever think about is war. You don't think about politics. You don't think about anything else." Cooler says, "I do. You see, Beerus is trying to..." King Cole would then get angry. "Beerus, huh? You're worried about all these galactic people, all these people above us, planning how to get rid of them? Guess what? There's orders. We take our orders and we rule this empire. We live a good life. Why ruin that? You put us all at stake, Cooler. With your Beerus could destroy us all. There's powers way above us. Sure, I would like to rule everything, but we can't. There's limitations, but we are the strongest mortals, and we should take pride in that. We should take pride in what we are, but you don't. You always want more, Cooler, and that wanting more will drive our empire to the grave." Cooler would then yell at him, "You're an idiot. Who's satisfied with this? Wanting more is about strength. It's about power. You should always want more. You should always better yourself. Better yourself. We're perfect. You don't understand the perfection of our race, Cooler. I don't think you ever did. You always hanging out with lesser, inferior beings. You're a disgrace to our name." Cooler would then spit in his father's face. As King Cole would then yell at him, Cooler would just simply walk away and fly out into space. He didn't know what he was doing. Not yet. But he had to get an idea. You see, he was tired of this empire anyway. He wanted to rule the empire, but his father wouldn't let him. He could simply try to kill him and kill Frieza, but their powers are similar, so it is pretty risky. Cooler decided he would train, and he would get a crew with the purpose of killing Frieza and King Cole to take the empire that he so desperately needed. Cooler would go off to distant planets far away from Frieza's empire, and train to get stronger. He would also look for a crew to call his own. And at first, he would have no luck. Eventually, however, though, he would hear of the Armored Squadron, an elite mercenary group. One day, as the Armored Squadron was wiping out a planet, Cooler would appear behind them. They would all look at him and get ready. They heard about Cooler, the brother of Frieza who was thrown out of the Empire. They said, "What do you want with us? We don't work with Frieza's people." Cooler would laugh and say, "I'm not with my brother. He's a spoiled brat. I'm here to build my own force, and I think you guys can help me with that." The Armored Squadron looked confused. Cooler seemed like a good fighter, but Frieza just relied on raw power and used his sway to get his way. He never really fought for himself. Maybe Cooler was just desperate, or maybe he was nothing like Frieza. They didn't really know. So they decided to fight him. "Alright," Salsa said, "we'll join you if you can beat us all in a fight." They would all three charge at Cooler, and Cooler would smirk as he dodged all of their attacks. He kept dodging again and again and again to tire them out. Then he punched Salsa to the ground and grabbed both of them, throwing them into the floor, defeating them easily. As he laughed, "Is that all you got? I'll admit, you're much stronger than normal people, but you're still nothing compared to me. But come on, we have work to do." The rest of the crew nodded their head as they all went off with Cooler. Cooler continued to train. He felt like there was a form that he could unlock, a form that could allow him to defeat Frieza. He trained and trained and trained for years on end to get this power, but he reached some sort of limiter, some sort of barrier. It was hard for him to grow. He barely even grew at all. He just needed this form. However, one day as he was watching his cameras, something was going on in Frieza's empire. Cooler always had eyes there and always watched from afar. His training actually did manage to help him grow quite a bit, but he was still stunted. This angered him. However, he knew if he played his cards right, he could still get stronger than his brother. He might even be stronger than him now. He didn't know, but he didn't want to risk it and fight him and King Cold. It was best to seize an opportunity once he saw it. An opportunity he would see. Suddenly, Frieza would blow up Planet Vegeta. This shocked Cooler, but then it started to make sense. The Saiyans were a strong warrior people that would never stay loyal forever. It seems that his brother was smarter than he thought. He underestimated him. However, he realized something. He would see a tiny space pod flying away towards Earth. That's when Cooler got an idea. "Salza, yes, my lord? Bring that baby to me at once. I want him in this base now." "But sir, he's going to Earth. That's far away. We could get spotted. Don't worry. Go in a small pod. No one will care." "I have an idea." Cooler would ask what planet is Vegeta on now, and they would point it out. Cooler would then quickly go over there. Knowing he didn't have much time left, Frieza must have ordered Vegeta back. Cooler realized that Frieza could have just killed Vegeta, so the fact that he's on a different planet means he has plans for him. Well, Cooler has plans for him too. As Vegeta was there with Nappa and Raditz, suddenly they would hear footsteps. As Nappa would turn on his scouter, it would suddenly break as the power level went so high. He began to shake as Cooler walked in. They were all confused. Some thought it was Frieza at first, but it didn't look much like him. Of course, they were obviously related, but they were used to Frieza in his first form. This looked nothing like that. Nappa would say, "Who are you? I am Cooler, Frieza's brother, and I have a proposition for you. And information," Cooler would say. As Vegeta would look at him and say, "Oh, what's that?" "Your planet was blown up by Frieza." They all looked shocked, except for Vegeta, who didn't care. They were surprised. First, they get told an asteroid blew up, and they were told Cooler blew it up. Could they even trust him? Well, Cooler could have just killed them all. So I guess it makes sense. Vegeta goes, "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want to team up with you. You see, you all can give me intel from the inside of Frieza's empire. I have cameras and lookouts, but they don't give me much. But this way I can get far more, and you can even sabotage them. And you can all train too, because one day I will get my revenge. Frieza kicked me out of the empire and took what was rightfully mine. And he destroyed your planet. It seems like we both hate him." Vegeta agreed, so did the rest of the Saiyans, as Cooler then flew back to his main base. And as he got there, baby Kakarot was there. Salsa would say, "Why'd you even make me take this little brat in?" Cooler would say, "Saiyans are said to have great potentials. I wonder if I could train one. If it doesn't go well, I'll just dispose of him. But I'm intrigued to see how this will go," Cooler says as he laughs. Cooler then began to raise Kakarot. He knew his name, the Saiyans said it earlier, and he was going to use Kakarot as a tool, a weapon to help him defeat Frieza. He was also going to use the other Saiyans. Cooler had men inside of Frieza's empire, and Cooler had his own elite force. Cooler seemed like he was getting the upper hand on his brother, but he couldn't reach the form, not quite yet. However, he knew he was close. However, he knew soon. Soon he will reach this new transformation, and when he does, his brother will be dead. Years would have passed, all the way to the beginning of Z. Kakarot was trained under Cooler himself, and Cooler acted more like a space pirate, stealing and taking what he needed to survive, planning to take his empire back, however, and he knew the time was finally right. He even taught the Saiyans how to hide their power levels, so Frieza was none the wiser. Kakarot and Vegeta were equals, rivals. Even though Vegeta was a prince and Kakarot started off with a way lower power level, Cooler's training with both of them accelerated their power and strength, making them far stronger than they thought possible. But Nappa and Raditz weren't far behind. Cooler knew it was finally time to get rid of Frieza, because he did it. He unlocked a new form. Cooler would walk up to Kakarot and say, "It's time." What makes you say that? Suddenly, Cooler would start to grow horns, and his body would transform. Kakarot was amazed. "What is this?" "This is my new form." Frieza makes forms to make himself weaker because he can't handle the power that drains on your stamina. All you had to do is train a bit and you can handle it. He's really not that smart when it comes to battling. But here's the thing. If you train hard enough, you can push yourself beyond your normal form and create something new. Something that took me years to achieve. With this form, I can finally kill my brother. Now it's time to activate the plan. Kakarot would nod as he would call Vegeta and say it's time. You see, the Saiyans knew that Frieza wanted power, and they knew Frieza was always listening to them. Whenever they talked, they took off their scouters, so Frieza couldn't track them. Vegeta and Nappa and Raditz would all talk about this planet with these people on it that can awaken your power. And awakening your power makes you much, much stronger, at least 2 times. As they all went off there, Frieza would take the bait. Hearing this, he would want to get stronger. However, he also knew that Zarbon and Doria were loyal, so he took them too, so they can all get stronger together. Frieza would fly to the planet, thinking nothing of it. After all, they were dumb monkeys. It's not like they were capable of planning anything. And he has heard from Cooler, so he was worried. However, his power being doubled, he can easily defeat Cooler. And if it turns out it was just a rumor, it's no big deal. He's already very strong. Frieza would land down with Zarbon and Doria, and as he looked around, the planet was completely desolate. There was nothing there. Frieza began to get angry. It seems like it was just a rumor. Stupid monkeys and their rumors. Well, oh well. Frieza was gonna go back, but then he heard footsteps. As he turned around, he would see Cooler behind him. Frieza would look at him and say, "Well, Cooler, what are you doing here? Are you the one that can unlock people's potentials? Or, I see now, it was a trap. You got those dumb little monkeys to lure me in, thinking you can defeat me. Father picked you for a reason. It's because you're pathetic." Cooler would say, "Shut up and go into your final form already." Frieza would sigh and say, "Fine, fine." As he transformed to his final form, Zarbon and Doria were amazed. But then, the Saiyans showed up. Cooler would say, "Deal with Zarbon and Doria." Frieza would laugh. "You think these monkeys can take on them? I see a new one, but I doubt any of them can do anything." Suddenly, Vegeta would kick Doria, sending him flying across the forest. As Doria got back up, he would then be kicked down. As Vegeta and Doria fought, Kakarot would fight Zarbon, and Cooler would fight Frieza. Nappa and Raditz would simply watch. As Kakarot fought Zarbon, Zarbon would say, "I didn't want to do this, but I have to." As the entire ground would shake, and suddenly he would transform. Then Kakarot laughed. "That's your transformation? You just get all fat and ugly. You think that can defeat me? God, you're an idiot. What kind of transformation is that?" Zarbon would say, "Shut up, you monkey. True, this transformation may not look beautiful, but it'll be enough to kill you." As he charged at Kakarot, Kakarot simply just pushed his fist straight through his stomach and pulled it out. As Zarbon fell to the floor and began to bleed out, Zarbon would beg for his life. "Please, please don't kill me. Please, I can join you. I can join the new regime. Together we can..." Kakarot simply looked down and said, "Sorry, you're nothing but a lapdog. We don't need that." With Cooler. As then he just blew Zarbon up. As he looked over, Vegeta
decided to do the same thing to Doria. It's been fun toying with you and torturing you, but I think it's over. Doria would look at him, begin to shake. How did you get this strong? Your power level, we could hide our power levels. It's a little trick Cooler taught us. We've been training for years, planning to kill Frieza right under his nose. The idiot never saw it coming. Doria would say, you might be able to kill me, but you'll never kill Frieza. Vegeta says, we'll see about that, as then he blew up Doria. Meanwhile, we cut to Cooler and Frieza. Cooler and Frieza were both battling. Frieza was a bit stronger than him in Cooler's final form, aka his base form. But Cooler had way better battle IQ and way better technique, so it was very even. But then Cooler would stop and say, I got something to show you, brother. Suddenly, Vegeta would throw up an artificial moon, as they would all become great apes and begin to charge at Frieza. As they all began to beat up on Frieza, it did minimal damage. Frieza was in his final form. You know, the Saiyans were very strong. It wasn't enough to kill him or wound him significantly. However, this was just a distraction, so Cooler can transform into his new transformation. As Frieza looked up, he said, you think a bunch of dumb monkeys can defeat me? Just because you're bigger doesn't mean you can defeat me, Frieza says, as he yelled out, punching Vegeta, sending him flying, and he began to charge a massive energy blast. But then, Cooler punched him straight into space. As Cooler flew up, Frieza looked at him and said, What are you? I am the new Cooler. I've unlocked a new form. Instead of making forms that make me weaker like an idiot, I make forms that increase my power. Frieza would then throw a giant death ball that he was charging up against the Saiyans right at Cooler. If you're so strong, then deal with this. But Cooler simply kicked it out into space and laughed. Is that all you got? That's child's play. He would then grab Frieza by his tail and begin to throw him around. Cooler would then begin to punch him at all of his pressure points. Cooler would start to toy with Frieza and torture him. Frieza felt more and more pain that he's never felt before. Frieza has been spoiled his whole life. He's had everything handled to him. He's never felt this type of pain before. He's never felt this type of fear before. Frieza would look at him and say, you're not the only one who can transform to get stronger, as suddenly he would go into his buff form 100%. As Frieza and Cooler battled, it was more even, but Cooler was still more powerful. However, Cooler would look at him and say, even if you were more powerful than me, this fight would still be over. Frieza would say, what are you talking about? You don't see? That dumb form, it uses a lot of stamina. You can't even hit me. Cooler would then laugh at Frieza. As he tried to punch him, he would just simply move out of the way again and again and again and again. As Frieza said, stop mocking me! I am the Emperor of the Universe! Cooler would look straight at Frieza and say, oh, there's a new Emperor. Someone who's not a spoiled brat. Someone who actually knows how to run an empire. Someone who actually gets strong enough to control everything. And that's me. As then, he would grab Frieza and rip off both of his arms. As Frieza would cry out in pain, he would say, please, please, brother, please, don't kill. But then Cooler would stop him, saying, you know how many people you've killed, how many people you slaughtered? They all begged for mercy. Now, I'm no good guy. In fact, I'd probably do the same thing, but it's funny. At least I would take my death like a man. As then he blew up Frieza. Frieza's chunks floated out in space. As Cooler would go back down to the planet, him and the Saiyans would go to the capital and declare himself Emperor. Vegeta and Kakarot were declared Cooler's right-hand men, and the armored squadron that Cooler commanded replaced the Ginyu Force. However, as Frieza floated out into space as chunks, King Cold would find him and pick him up. King Cold would rebuild Frieza into Mecha Frieza. King Cold would be angry. His empire was gone. As soon as Cooler announced that he killed Frieza, the empire fell to him. However, King Cold still had some forces loyal to him and Frieza, and part of these forces were the Ginyu Force. Cooler couldn't possibly know about Captain Ginyu's power to take bodies. King Cold had an idea how to defeat Cooler and take his empire back for Frieza. As Frieza got up, he would look around. As King Cold would say, my son, I'm glad you're alive. This failure was an embarrassment, but if Cooler he stays Emperor, he'll kill me, so we need to get rid of him. Frieza would laugh and nod, as King Cold and Frieza would get a scheme that could defeat Cooler. Cooler may be stronger, but he doesn't know about Captain Ginyu's ability, his ability to take a body. This ability will be his downfall.
Months would have passed. Kakarot and Vegeta and the rest of the Saiyans were training heavily, along with Cooler. Cooler felt his power grow. As he got stronger and stronger, his power began to accelerate. Ever since he unlocked this form, he felt like his potential grew beyond anything he's ever seen before. Soon he'll be so powerful that no one could stop him. No one. As Cooler and Kakarot were both training together, Vegeta would look at them scheming. Vegeta wanted to be on top, rule the universe himself. It was nice to be Cooler's right-hand man, but he couldn't betray him yet. He needed to come up with a plan. However, suddenly, they would hear a spaceship land. As they looked out, it was the Ginyu Force, Frieza and King Cold. As the armored squadron surrounded Cooler, and Vegeta and the rest of the Saiyans did too. Cooler would say, "Oh, you're back, brother. I didn't think you could survive being blown up. I guess I was wrong. I underestimated our race. How foolish and selfish of me. But what are you doing back with Father? Did you decide to have a family reunion?" "Shut up," Frieza would say, angeredly, as he began to growl. "You dare blow me up? I am the Emperor of the universe, and you slice me up into pieces and leave me out in space to die. I will show you pain you've never felt before. Behold the power of Mecha Frieza." Cooler laughed. "Mecha Frieza? You're made out of junk." Frieza with a gun. "Rrr." King Cold would simply pat Frieza's head and say, Now, son. Don't get too hasty. Remember the plan." "I heard about your new form. It impressed me. I'm almost proud of you in a way. At least I would be if you were on our side." "I'll make you pay for spitting in my face." The Armored Squadron and Ginyu Force both began the battle. The Ginyu Force surrounded the Armored Squadron. Jace and Berta moved with their great speed, but Salsa chopped Berta in half, killing him. And as they watched, Captain Ginyu didn't do anything. He just looked, which confused Cooler. Captain Ginyu was always described to fight with his men, but he wasn't doing that for some reason. As suddenly, Frieza would charge in and punch Cooler, so would King Cold. As the Saiyans wanted to get involved, Cooler would say, "No, I got this." "You think you two can beat me just because you're going to get involved? Just because there's two of you, you can beat me because there's one of me? It doesn't matter how many of you there are. I am the superior Frost Demon. I am the master of our race." As then he transformed. As he transformed, Captain Ginyu didn't do his technique just yet. He knew Cooler would dodge it. He had a way for him to get pinned down. As Cooler began to fight King Cold and Frieza, he was beating both of them up. However, he couldn't keep track of everything. So King Cold would charge at the Saiyans. As Cooler would go after him, suddenly Frieza would grab him and hold him back with all of his might. As he said, "Do it now!" Captain Ginyu would go, "Change now!" as he took Cooler's body. Everyone was shocked, as then he did a pose, and Cooler was stuck in Captain Ginyu's body. As Cooler then said, "What the hell is this? What happened?" Captain Ginyu would laugh and say, "I got your body, that's what happened," as then he would grab Solskjaer and rip off his head. Goku would see this, and he began to get angry. He grew up with the Armored Squadron his whole life. They were like family to him. He would charge in to try to stop him, but even with Captain Ginyu not knowing how to fully use Cooler's body, Frieza and King Cold were still stronger than the Saiyans, so King Cold simply kicked Goku back. As Frieza would say, "I'll get a chance to torture my brother. You deal with the monkeys." As then he walked over to Cooler and Captain Ginyu's body and grabbed him by the neck and began to squeeze the life out of him. As then he blasted him with death beams, none in his vital pressure points, of course. As then he laughed, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, this will be so much fun. You humiliated me, so I'll humiliate you. I'll save you for last. I'll have you watch as all of your soldiers die and your empire crumbles in front of your very eye."
as Frieza then kicked him to the ground. As Raditz charged in, King Cold would simply blow him up, and Nappa and the rest of the Saiyans began to shake. As they walked back, King Cold began to laugh. "You stupid monkeys," sided with Frieza's brother. Frieza's brother doesn't know anything about politics. All he knows how to do is flex his muscles, which I will admit, he did get Frieza by surprise. But now that that's over, his death is near. So is all of yours. Your fate was sealed the minute you sided with Cooler. Any last words? Nappa said, "Yeah, screw you!" As then he threw up an artificial moon and became a great ape. So did the rest of the Saiyans, as they all charged in there. Captain Ginyu and Cooler's body also charged in there. Even though he couldn't fully control Cooler's power yet, he still had a lot of power, and was easily able to keep up and even surpass the Saiyans with power as he battled them. Even in their Great Ape forms, their power was nothing, as King Cold blasted a hole straight through Nappa's chest, killing him, and Captain Ginyu flew and ripped off both of their tails, moving so fast they couldn't do anything, as suddenly they both turned back into their base forms. As Vegeta looked at Nappa, he was way closer in this timeline. He started to remember how they trained together, how every day he fought with him, and how Cooler trained them both. And have them training together, have them fighting together, have them pushing each other together, it created some sort of brotherhood that just wasn't there in the original timeline. Nappa just didn't take care of him. Nappa was there for him, and Nappa fought with him, and Nappa trained with him. Nappa did everything with Vegeta, and even though he shouldn't care, a deep part of him felt angry. Nappa didn't deserve to die like this. King Cold looked at him and says, "No matter how big a monkey is, it's still a monkey. You're an idiot to think you could ever compare to me." Suddenly, Frieza then grabbed Cooler and Captain Ginyu's body and broke his arm as he cried out in pain. Kakarot would look around as he saw the armored squadron dead, his only resemblance of family, and Cooler, his only friend, about to die. And Nappa was dead on the floor. As Vegeta looked at his dead body, they both began to scream angrily. As the entire ground began to shake, suddenly their hair turned yellow and began to spike up. King Cold was shocked as Frieza dropped Cooler to the floor and said, What is this?" Vegeta said, "I have done it. I have achieved the legend. I have became the legendary Super Saiyan. Arrives only 1,000 years. Looks like Kakarot did it too." What a rare occurrence. 2 Super Saiyans in one lifetime. Truly amazing. Now it's time for us to destroy you. We will get revenge after everything you've done to us. After everything. Frieza would then begin to shake as he was scared of the Super Saiyan. That's why he blew up Planet Vegeta. But he would say, "A monkey is still a monkey, no matter what you call it." As he charged in with King Cold, but Vegeta dodged it and grabbed King Cold's tail, ripping it off as he fell to the floor and bled out in pain. Then Kakarot began to punch a hole straight through Frieza's chest. Let's see how strong these cybernetic parts really are. Captain Ginyu would see this and begin to fly away. But as he flew away, Vegeta would appear in front of him and say, "Where are you going?" King Cold would beg for his life. "Please, please don't kill me. I'm sorry. I can change. I can join you. Together we can rule the universe." But Goku just stepped on his neck and snapped it as he flew up. Frieza would try to attack them, but Goku would simply grab him and throw him into the ground. As then he said, "Don't you do it." Vegeta was charging a ki blast straight at Captain Ginyu, but he said, "Fine, fine." Vegeta thought about killing him, then fighting Goku for the throne of the universe. However, too much was at stake here, and with his Super Saiyan form, he was confident that he could beat Cooler. And to be honest, his stamina was running low, so he didn't know if he could take Kakarot, so he decided not to risk it. Vegeta then yelled at Captain Ginyu, "If you want to live, take your body back now." He would go to Cooler and say, "Change now!" As the bodies were switched back, Captain Ginyu would leave with a broken arm. As then, Vegeta, Goku, and Cooler all teamed up on Frieza. Frieza was no match for all of them. Frieza would beg for his life. "Please, please let me go. Mercy, mercy." Cooler would say, "You always were just a little bitch." But then suddenly the entire planet began to shake. Frieza said, "Ugh." I may not kill you, Cooler, but I'll kill these dumb monkeys at least. But before he can blow up the planet, Cooler simply kicked him out into space, and then picked him up and threw him straight into the sun, burdened Frieza as he felt all of his flesh slowly melt away in pain and agony. Cooler would go down to the planet and look at them both, saying, "I'm proud of you two. From here on out, we're equal." Vegeta and Kakarot were shocked. Cooler always wanted to be emperor, so he was going to share with them. Instead of making them right-hand men, he was going to share the empire with them. Could this even last? Could they even get along enough? Or would they tear each other apart? Goku and Vegeta have all become equals. Their power eclipsed each other. They trained so hard. Eventually, Cooler would surpass Vegeta. Then Vegeta would surpass Cooler. Then Goku would surpass them both. And they would surpass Goku. And their powers went like that for a long time. It kept fluctuating through them all. And Cooler would begin his conquest of the universe. Planet after planet, person after person, no one could stand up to Cooler. No one could stand up to his armies. The Galactic Patrol saw this and began to get scared because they knew they were next. Frieza wouldn't dare attack them because they're dangerous criminals, but Cooler didn't care. So they had to get rid of him. But how would they do that? Well, the Galactic Patrol would think of a plan. They could let out dangerous criminals to fight Cooler, but that's way too risky. And even if they win, they might get revenge on the Galactic Patrol since they're the ones that lock them up. So letting criminals out to fight them are really not the best idea. So, instead of that, they sent Jaco to Namek about the rumors of the Dragon Balls. Maybe they can make some sort of wish to stop Cooler. As Jaco was there, he walked up to the villages, super peaceful and respectful, as he bowed and asked nicely for the Dragon Balls. They would sense his heart and his pure intentions. Even though Jaco was a bit of a coward, he was still a good person overall, so they would give him the Dragon Balls. Eventually, he would collect them all, with Guru's permission, and he would summon Purunga. Jaco wouldn't know what to wish for, but then he remembered something. His whole life, he's been scared of everyone around him. Jaco would look up and say, "Can you unlock someone's potential?" Purunga would nod. "And could you make them stronger?" Purunga would say, "Yes, that isn't with my power." Jaco would then wish to be stronger than the Saiyans, stronger than the people who rule this universe, and strong enough to save it. He would feel a sudden urge of power as the power coursed through him. Purunga would say, "What are your other two wishes?" Jaco didn't really know what to wish for besides that, since now he was strong enough to win. He decided to wish to bring back everyone to life that they've killed, but he couldn't do that. So, since he couldn't bring back to life people Cooler have killed, he wished that for immortality. As a dragon granted him immortality, he could feel the power cords through him. Jaco was an elite galactic patrolman, but he's been scared his entire life. Anytime he found someone stronger than him, he didn't want to fight him. But now with immortality and now with his power unlocked, no one can defeat him. He felt confident that he could protect the galaxy. No, not the galaxy, the universe. But he had one last wish, so he wished for the best ramen in the universe, as then he began to eat it. The Megians were confused on why he would wish for food. Not just because they don't eat, but he could have wished for anything. But the other two wishes were solid. After he got done eating, he would thank the Namekians, as the Namekians would nod and say, "Go free the universe, can do," as Jaco went into his spaceship and began to fly away. As that was going on, Cooler's empire was expanding and no one could stop him. We cut to Cooler, who'd be training with Goku and Vegeta. With their Super Saiyan forms, they have grown to new heights, and Cooler's grown to new heights too. Cooler's potential is so great, however, Cooler would need a training partner. If he had a training partner of a certain level, and he trained with them, he can easily get to that level, and even surpass it, with only a little while. Cooler grows exponentially with others, but doesn't grow as well when he's alone. That's why it took Cooler so long to reach his form. He realized this, and he feels like he can improve his form, make it a grade 2 or something. But before they could finish their training, Galactic Patrol ships would surround their planet, and soldiers would begin to flood it. They all began to charge at the soldiers, but then Jaco jumped in front of all three of them, saying, "If you want to kill them, you'll have to get through me." Cooler said, I heard about you, an elite galactic patrolman. I also heard you were a coward. It's unlike you to risk your life for others. Jaco would then laugh and say, I'm not risking anything. What do you mean? Why don't you fight me and find out? Goku would charge at him and charge a Gallic gun. So would Vegeta, as both Gallic guns would hit Jaco. But it did nothing. They would both turn Super Saiyan, as Cooler would charge at him too. They would begin to hit and pummel him. Even though Jaco was stronger, it wasn't like he was infinitely stronger. So he did take damage. Every time he took damage, he regenerated. As Jaco began to laugh, Cooler said, what the hell is this? Jaco said, I achieved immortality. Now, with this immortality, you all cannot defeat me. Jaco would then pull out a gun and blast it. It didn't really do much. He would blast it again and again and again until it eventually hit Vegeta, injuring his arm. Jaco would then punch Goku, sending him flying, and as Cooler grabbed onto Jaco, Jaco would throw him to the side. Jaco was stronger and was immortal. There was no way they can win, but Cooler knew there had to be a way. Cooler's strength was everything, and he had to get strong enough to defeat Jaco. As Cooler looked up, he said, go. What? Go, both of you. He told Goku and Vegeta to go. Kakarot would be hesitant at first, since he's been with Cooler since he was born, but he would leave with Vegeta and say, we better see you again. You will, I promise. Head to the rally viewpoint. I have a plan. Jaco would then say, if you give me the point, I can just put you in jail instead of killing you. Cooler would laugh and say, kill me. You might be immortal, but you don't know something about me. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to win. Suddenly, Cooler would grab the planet as it began to shake. What's going on? As he grabbed the floor of the planet, he then began to push against its core and blast a ki blast straight to the bottom of the planet's core, blowing it up. Everyone on the planet died except for Cooler and Jaco. Jaco was immortal, but he couldn't do anything in space. He would just die and come back again and again and again until a spaceship would pick him up. Cooler, however, could fly. He would begin to fly through space, searching for the rally viewpoint. As Cooler floated out into space, he would eventually find the planet. As he got there, Vegeta would look at him and say, about damn time. Now what's so special about this place? Cooler would say, Kakarot, go in the healing chamber. Once you come out, we're going to go into the time chamber. Time chamber, yes, this planet has a time chamber. One day out here is a year in there. We'll be able to get a year's worth of training. Okay, but how do we deal with Jaco's immortality? Cooler laughed and said, I have an idea for that. Kakarot would heal as they all went into the time chamber and began to train. They trained intensely for an entire year, with only one purpose, to defeat Jaco. As the day passed, Jaco and the Galactic Patrol would look for all of them, but no matter how hard they looked, they couldn't find them. They searched galaxy after galaxy, planet after planet, but they were nowhere to be found. As Cooler, Goku, and Vegeta were all training, they began to push their forms, to push their transformations. They fought each other again and again and again, non-stop fighting. Sometimes Cooler would win, sometimes Vegeta would win, sometimes Goku would win. Their powers began to fluctuate, and they all were equals. Suddenly, however, Vegeta would unlock Grade 2, then Goku, then Cooler. As they unlocked Grade 2 of their forms, they felt their power skyrocket. They felt their new power. Their new power was amazing, unlike anything they ever felt before. As they all walked out of the time chamber, they were finally ready to defeat Jaco. As Cooler would smirk, because he bugged the Galactic Patrol, he knew exactly where Jaco was. Jaco was on a planet relaxing, enjoying his break. He figured Cooler ran away, and that it would take a while for him to resurface. However, as Jaco was sitting there eating ramen, suddenly he heard footsteps behind him. As he looked behind him, it was Cooler and Goku and Vegeta. Jaco got up and said, ready for another ass whooping? Cooler looked at him and laughed, saying, not really. Are you ready to be tortured forever? Since you can't die, you'll experience pain for all eternity. But I'm a nice guy, I'll give you a chance. Join me, and that won't happen. Jaco would pull out his blaster and say, in your dreams. As suddenly Cooler would charge at Jaco as he would grab his legs and spin him around, then throw him against the ground. Jaco got up as Vegeta punched him down, then Kakarot. No matter what Jaco did, he felt pain. They began to torture him, play with him. But no matter what they did, Jaco just wouldn't die. At first, this was a good thing, but now Jaco wanted death. After painful death beam after death beam, punch after punch, kick after kick, Jaco felt all the pain, and he wanted to die. He wanted his suffering to end, but no matter what he did, it wouldn't come to an end. Cooler then grabbed him by the neck and said, "I think it's time to end you once and for all." Jaco would say, "I'm immortal, you can't get rid of me, stupid." "Yes, I can." As then he would throw Jaco straight into the sun. As Jaco would feel pain, his entire body would burn up and just heal, as Jaco would suffer in the sun, burning up for all of eternity. Jaco would be nothing but fuel for a star, like wood on a fire, but this wood would never go out. And Jaco would be nothing but firewood for a star, at least for a few billion years. It's been years since Jaco was defeated. Cooler has pushed his form beyond anything he ever expected, and Goku and Vegeta both unlocked Super Saiyan 2. Everything would seem normal. Cooler's empire has expanded beyond new heights, and they keep Moro in prison. Attacking the Galactic Patrol didn't affect their prisoners, luckily. At least not yet. Everything was going as planned. However, one day, they would hear footsteps. As Cooler got off of his throne, he would see the Supreme Kai Shin walking towards him. "Hello, Cooler. I don't want to talk to you, but it seems I have no choice." Cooler would look at him and say, "Who are you?" "I am the Supreme Kai." Cooler's database has heard of the Supreme Kais before. They have been seen throughout the universe, and mythology did mention them, but he didn't know they're actually real. Cooler was shocked, but it did make sense. Each planet had a guardian. It makes sense that the whole universe would have a guardian. "What do you want?" Supreme Kai Shin looked at him and said, "I need your help to defeat Majin Buu." Goku and Vegeta were ready just to kill Shin and get it over with, but Cooler would start to think. He knew about Majin Buu. That was the one person Frieza was never supposed to fight. He's gotten a lot stronger than Frieza, but would he even be strong enough to match him? Shin said luckily he hasn't been released yet, but if we don't hurry, he could be released. Cooler did love a good battle, but releasing Majin Buu seemed dangerous, and he didn't really know, so he decided to listen to Shin. Shin told him it was on Earth. Earth? That was the planet Kakarot was going to be sent to. He doesn't really know much about it. Earth is just a backwater planet that no one really cares about. It's just there. There's no valuable resources, nothing valuable. Why would he put it there? But then Cooler came up with an idea. The reason he put it there was because there was nothing valuable on it, so no one would find it. It's genius now that he thinks about it. Cooler and his crew decide to head off to Earth. As they're all heading off to Earth, we cut to Bobbity. Bobbity's been watching them with a crystal ball, smiling. He needs them to come to him. He needs them to fight him so he can get more energy. Bobbity's heard of Cooler, and he wants to see how strong he is, and how strong his crew is. Maybe he can recruit them, maybe not. Either way, he'll collect their energy, and Majin Buu will be brought back. As Cooler, Vegeta, and Goku all get to the planet, Shin begins to show them around. They would all hide in the rocks as they watched Deborah. Deborah was looking around, talking to Bobbity. He knew where they were, but they didn't know that. Cooler would say, "Why don't we just charge in there?" But Shin would disagree. Goku and Vegeta also wanted to charge in there. They didn't know who this Bobbity was, but they weren't scared. They were warriors that killed Frieza himself. They weren't scared of anything. Suddenly, Deborah would fly up and kill Debito and try to spit on Goku and Vegeta, but Goku and Vegeta would both dodge it. Deborah said, if you're fast enough to dodge, you might be worthy." Cooler said, "Why don't you stay up here and meet your demise? I guess you won't be scared since you're going back to hell anyway." Deborah would simply say, "What a cocky attitude. We'll see if you can back it up." As he flew into the spaceship, they all began to follow, but Shin said, "Wait, that's his plan." Cooler said, "Trap or not, it doesn't matter. We're the strongest force in the universe. No matter what they send at us, we'll easily destroy it." As they all jumped into the spaceship. As they got down there, they waited and waited until the mighty Pui Pui would come. As he walked out, he looked at all of them. "Who's dumb enough to face me?" As then they all began to play rock, paper, scissors. Even though they were evil, they were still eager to fight. This annoyed Pui Pui and shocked Shin, and the winner was Goku. Goku smirked. Now this is gonna be fun. As he began to fight Pui Pui, he began to torture him. I thought you were strong. He would blast him into his limbs, causing him to fall down. Then he would pick him up and slam him into the floor, and begin to punch him in all of his pressure points. As he laughed, Pui Pui would begin to cry out in pain, cry out in suffering. Babidi would see this and make it his home planet. But even that wasn't enough. With 10 times gravity, Goku laughed. I trained in 100 times gravity. You call this strong? He then flew to Pui Pui, then blew him up. With Pui Pui dead, the next match was Jaco versus Vegeta. Cooler wanted Dabura for himself. He wanted to fight the mighty Demon King, and he wanted to show him what real evil truly was. As Vegeta fought Jaco, Vegeta easily took care of him. He used his Super Saiyan form and fed him to death, just like Goku did in canon. As they got to the last level, finally Dabura would show up. As Dabura would start to fight Cooler would begin to push Dabura and say, "Are you ready to go back to your home?" Cooler would try to spit him, but he would dodge and grab him with his tail and begin to choke him as he threw him to the floor. They both punched at each other, hit at each other. Both of them were ruthless. But Cooler's been training with Super Saiyan 2s, people who were way above him for a while, and he's caught up, to say the least. With all this training, he was easily able to be a match for Dabura, and then some. Dabura was on the back foot with every punch, with every hit, with every ki blast. Dabura just couldn't keep up. Dabura would say, wait, you can join me. Think about all the power you can have. Cooler would say, no thank you. Babidi would look and say, if you won't join me, I'll have you join me. But then he realized something. Cooler was probably the strongest, and he could get most energy from him. He needed some sideshow to keep him safe and to get enough energy. He looked into Vegeta's mind. There was potential there. He was definitely evil, but he didn't see a lot. And he looked into Goku's mind. He saw a hidden power, a power that could unlock a new form. This new form could be their key to victory. So then, he decided to go after Goku. As Goku would scream, Dabura and Cooler would stop fighting, as they watched Goku grab his head and scream in pain. As then Goku would look up with an M on his forehead as he began to laugh. I feel a newfound power, a power beyond anything I've felt before. Power, you've become a puppet. Goku would say, no, I'm not gonna bow to Babidi. He would turn into a Super Saiyan 3 and say, I think I could take you all on right here, right now. What do you think, Vegeta? Vegeta would look at Kakarot, and then it would click inside of him. He was trying to achieve this form for a long time, but Vegeta would laugh. You don't know, do you? Know what? That form is useless. Useless. What kind of a bluff is that? Kakarot and Vegeta would take their fight outside, as they both begin to battle each other. Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta will begin to get beat up by Kakarot. Kakarot in his Super Saiyan 3 form was stronger, better, and faster. But as he was fighting, something strange was going on. He was losing stamina, but he didn't notice. Kakarot was so far ahead of Vegeta, he couldn't even notice that he was losing stamina. All Vegeta would have to do is hold on, but could he hold on long enough to win? As that was going on, we cut to Cooler. Cooler would grab Dabura and slam him into the floor, as Dabura was breathing heavily, bleeding out. Cooler then got down and whispered in his ear, pretend to be dead and kill Babidi, and I'll let you live. Dabura would look at him, and even though he was under Babidi's spell, Babidi wasn't really paying attention much. He was more focused on Goku and Vegeta's fight, so he didn't really hear it. Dabura would nod, and since he didn't die, the room didn't open, and Cooler would simply fly away. As Dabura got up, trying not to look injured, using magic to cover up his energy, he wouldn't look too injured. He still had some injuries, but he wouldn't look like he absolutely lost the fight. So Babidi would let him in. And as he let him in, Dabura was about to kill him, but then he had enough energy as finally he awoke in Majin Buu. As Majin Buu began to walk out, Dabura cut off Babidi's head. Babidi was shocked as he fell down to the floor. The last thing he saw before he died was his best man betraying him. After that, Dabura would say, listen, Boo. Yeah? I have some magic that can hurt you, so can you do what I say? Okay. He Deborah was shocked to see Boo was a fat idiot, but he did hear about how strong Boo was, so he might as well test him out. Majin Buu would look and say, "You're injured," as he would heal Deborah. Deborah would smirk as Deborah and Majin Buu would come out. We cut back to Goku and Vegeta. Cooler just shows up as suddenly Goku would fall down to the floor, collapsed. As Vegeta was so injured he could barely stand, Goku ran out of stamina. Cooler would look down at them and say, "Listen, I need 3 days and I can defeat Buu." 3 days? What do you mean? Trust me. That's all I need. But until then, we need to hold him off. Got it? Now go into the healing tanks. I'll hold him off until then. Goku and Vegeta would nod. But then, Supreme Kai Shen said, "I have a better idea," as he healed them both. This shocked Cooler, seeing that Supreme Kai had the power of healing, but he didn't have much time to think about it as he flew out into space, quickly looking for the time chamber. Eventually, Cooler would find the planet with it and would go inside and begin to train like he never trained before. 3 years. Cooler knew there was something he could unlock, something that can push himself even further, something that can make him even stronger. So he would give himself 3 years to achieve it, 3 years to make him strong enough to defeat Majin Buu. As he trained relentlessly, pushing himself like he never pushed before, gravity training, intense training, torture training, where he would torture himself and heal. Any training, any intense thing you can imagine, he tried. He did everything to push himself more than he ever could. As Cooler kept pushing himself more and more, Goku and Vegeta decided just to leave Earth. They didn't really care about it, and they didn't think there was any reason for Majin Buu to stay there. And Deborah would leave too. Deborah would just tell Buu to be good, and as he left. Deborah didn't know how strong Buu was compared to Cooler. He didn't know where Cooler was, and Deborah just killed Babidi. Deborah decided he needed some alone time, to say the least. So Majin Buu just stayed on Earth and began to terrorize it. The Red Ribbon Army would try to stop him since they took over Earth at this timeline, but they would fail. No one could stand up against Majin Buu, as he would terrorize and destroy cities. Eventually, though, he would make a friend, Mr. Satan. Even though the world was controlled by a Red Ribbon Army, Mr. Satan would still become famous. And Mr. Satan would become friends with Majin Buu. And eventually, Super Buu would come out and all that stuff, like in canon. However, this time, there was no one else on the planet. So Super Buu decided just to kill everyone except for Mr. Satan. After that, he waited, bored. He was just about to leave planet Earth, but then Cooler would walk up behind him. "So, you've changed too." It was Cooler as he walked up to Super Buu. As Super Buu said, "You really think you can defeat me? I am Majin Buu. Buu, kill you." But then Cooler would turn gold as the entire planet began to shake. The energy coming off of him was amazing. It felt like it could destroy an entire universe. Super Buu would walk back scared. What is this? This power? This can't be." Cooler would then say, "You look a little scared there." Super Buu would then yell, "You're not gonna kill me! Buu turn you into candy!" As he shot a candy beam, but Cooler just dodged it and kicked him into the floor. Usually I like to play with my prey, but you're too dangerous to be left alive. Cooler then lifted up his fist and then charged the Ki Blast as he hit Super Buu, eliminating him, destroying him, obliterating every atom. He looked into his golden form and he smirked, saying, "I control the universe. I am Cooler, the mightiest being in existence." We cut to Beerus. Beerus wouldn't be dreaming of a Super Saiyan god. He'd be dreaming of a golden warrior who could finally challenge him, who could finally push him, who could finally make him happy. Beerus, his entire life, has been searching for someone who can fight him, searching for someone who can give him a challenge, but he could never find it. But this golden warrior was so strong for a mortal, it made him happy. Beerus would wake up and forget all about that dream, but as he was in the bath, he started to remember things, and he would ask, "Whisk, is Frieza still alive?" No, his brother killed him. Beerus would be shocked, but he did hear about Cooler and he was kicked out, so I guess it made sense. I mean, it wasn't a Saiyan. Beerus would get up and ask about Cooler, and Whis would tell him he took the surviving Saiyans and made him part of his crew, and he rules with an iron fist. But he fights alongside his men. He's not lazy like Frieza, and he actually likes to train and fight. Beerus would say, "Fascinating."
He's different from his brother. Whis would say yes, very different in fact. Beerus would say good. I always hated Frieza, that arrogant little brat. But Cooler was kicked out for being too ambitious, so I guess he could be a threat. Maybe that'll make it more entertaining when I fight him. Whis would say maybe, my lord. Well, either way, we should go meet this Cooler. Understood, lord. Whis and Beerus would head towards Cooler's capital planet. Meanwhile, we cut to Goku and Vegeta. Goku and Vegeta would train like they never trained before, but they could never reach Cooler's level. Ever since he unlocked the golden level, he's always been so far above them. Little did they know that all this was about to change. As they were training together, suddenly, they would hear footsteps. As Vegeta looked, it was Beerus. Cooler would look at Beerus and begin to remember him. He met him once before he was kicked out of the Empire. Of course, back then, he didn't really know much about him, and he just looked in amazement at him. Cooler would then continue to look at Beerus, remembering all the things that have been said, the fact that he's the one person Frieza could never fight, the fact that he's so powerful the Empire could be destroyed, that we have to bow to its every need, and not even question him. All these thoughts would be racing through his head, as Beerus would walk up to him and say, "You're a quiet one, aren't you? Oh, sorry, just thinking about you. It's been a long time since we met before." Beerus would say, "Yeah, it has. And, sorry to say this, but I'm not into men." Cooler would then look at him, embarrassed, and just... Cooler would say, "I wasn't thinking of you that way, just... Look, what do you need, my lordship?" Beerus would say, "I want a good fight and a good meal. So before I see your golden form, can you show me a good meal?" Cooler would say, "How do you know about my form? I seen it in a dream, really?" And Cooler would begin to feed Beerus, as Beerus would tell him about the dream he had and stuff like that. Beerus would actually start to like Cooler, and Cooler would respect Beerus. To be honest, Cooler did want his title, at least part of him did. But seeing how Beerus acts, it was nothing like he thought a destroyer should act. At first, this aggravated him, but realizing that Beerus is just a chill dude kind of eases him up a bit. Sure, he gets mad and destroys entire planets, but he just likes to eat and have fun. And honestly, sometimes he wishes he can be like that, just having fun. As him and Beerus begin to talk more and more, Goku and Vegeta look at him. Cooler says, "Alright, we can fight, but first I want you to fight them. I want to see what the mighty destroyer is made of, if that's okay. Asking me to test myself, you know I could destroy you for that." Cooler would then look scared, as Beerus would then laugh, say, "Don't worry, I'm not going to." "Alright, let's fight." Beerus would then walk towards Goku and Vegeta, as they both went to Super Saiyan 3. Even though it gets rid of stamina fast, they need to hit Beerus fast and hard, as they charged at him, but then Beerus picked up both of his hands and flicked them both into the ground, defeating both of them. Beerus would then begin to laugh. "Is that all you got? I thought these Super Saiyans were supposed to be powerful. I heard rumors about how they helped defeat Frieza when he became Mecha Frieza. I guess they weren't as powerful as I thought. Then again, I'm so strong. Maybe I just didn't notice." "Alright, Cooler, are you ready for the real fight?" Cooler looked at him shocked. He got rid of them both with one flick. Cooler would say, "Yeah," as he hesitantly turned to his gold form, and they both began to get ready to fight. Beerus would say, "Are you ready, Cooler, to fight a god of destruction? You know, this is a high honor." Cooler would say, "Yeah, I know. Thank you for giving me this honor. And I'm sorry if I disappoint you." Cooler would fly and punch Beerus, send him flying. Then Beerus would punch him, and they would both begin the battle, going out into space. Cooler would look around and say, "Wow, space sure is beautiful. I hope we don't destroy too much of it, because I need to rule it," he would say, laughing. "So you care about your stars and planets just because you want control of it. Interesting. At least you care somewhat. For me, it doesn't matter. I destroy what I destroy for fun." Beerus would then punch Cooler straight in the face, as Cooler would hit Beerus with a tail whack, sending him flying. But then suddenly, Deborah would show. You see, Deborah has joined Cooler. Deborah has become one of Cooler's top generals. Ever since he left into space, he's been serving Cooler.
At least when Cooler found him, he was a bit hesitant, but he didn't want to die. Beerus would look impressed. You made a demon lord part of your army. That's very impressive. Suddenly, Deborah would spit on Beerus. As his hand would turn into stone, Beerus would yell, "No! No, this can't be!" All of his body would start to turn to stone, but then Beerus would smirk before he turned completely into stone. Just kidding. As suddenly, a weird aura would go around Beerus as the stone would disappear. That's a neat trick, but destroyers can bypass magic. Now, Cooler, since he appeared out of nowhere, I don't think you told him to do this, but if you try this again, I'll kill you. As then he hit Deborah down to the ground, as Goku and Vegeta both caught him. Beerus would say, "It's so annoying when people interfere, don't you agree?" "Yeah. Let's finish this," Cooler said, looking at Beerus. Beerus would look at Cooler and say, "Gladly." Cooler would then begin to yell, "I've seen your strength, Beerus. It's beyond anything I've ever experienced before, anything I've ever thought possible. I am become more powerful than anyone I ever knew, yet you're stronger than me. I don't care, though, because I got something for you. Even with your power, it will be hard to get rid of." As he put all of his power, all of his might, into a supernova and threw it right at Beerus. This power is enough to destroy galaxies. Prepare to meet the power of a supernova. Beerus looked at it as he simply grabbed it and tossed it away like it was nothing. Beerus laughs, "Is this your thought of power? Pathetic." As then he charged a giant key ball and threw it right at Cooler. It landed on Cooler as it began to push him down more and more and more. Cooler began to get angry. He couldn't die like this. He was the emperor of the universe. Killed by a ball of energy? How pathetic. No, he refused to die like this. As he kicked it out of the way and flew up and punched Beerus straight in the stomach. As Beerus then punched him and says, "I like your spirit." As they continued to push each other with everything they got. At least Cooler. Beerus was holding it back. But Cooler was beginning to run out of stamina. Cooler put up one hell of a fight, and he was unlike any warrior Beerus has ever seen. But eventually Cooler lost. As he fell down to the planet, he said, "What now? Are you going to destroy me? Take my empire?" "Take your empire? I don't care about empires. I just want to have fun," Beerus said, laughing. "By the way, I think I want to take your Saiyans to train on my world, give them God Ki. That way they can keep up with you, and train with you, and make you stronger too." Cooler would smirk and say, "Good idea." As Goku and Vegeta left to train on Beerus' planet, we cut to Granola with the Heaters. The Heaters and Granola were tired of being under Cooler. Cooler was just like Frieza. Well, he was different, sure, but he had the same ideas, just a different way to accomplish it. And Granola hated him and his family for what they did to his planet. He also hated the Saiyans, which worked directly under Cooler. So getting rid of him and the Saiyans seemed like the best option. So, Cooler had to go. And the Heaters wanted power for themselves, so get rid of Cooler was also best for them. However, they couldn't really do it, but they had a plan. If they broke this guy out of prison, maybe he can distract them so they can become much more powerful and take over the universe. Or maybe they'll both kill each other. Or maybe he'll just cripple his empire. Either way, it'll be a win for them. As they all went to the prison, suddenly an explosion was heard. Granola and the Heaters would break into the prison and begin to slaughter all the guards. As they looked, they saw a prisoner. The prisoner was Moro. Moro would look at him and say, "Who are you?" Granola would say, "We hate Cooler. He's the one in charge. We want you to disrupt his empire. All you have to do is go to planets and start absorbing all the people. And you were going to do that anyway, so sound like a deal?" Moro laughed and said, "Yes, that sounds like a deal. Let's get to it." The Heaters would let Moro out. Moro thought about absorbing energy from them, but he thought they might make some chaos, and if he defeated this so-called Cooler, they would try to take over, and he could absorb their energy then, using them as a later snack. Moro would smirk, as he would then walk out and begin to let go all the prisoners. As all the prisoners left, Moro had an army of criminals. Criminals of the worst of the worst. These were murderers, people who committed genocide, people who have violated human rights violations. The worst people you can imagine. These were the type of people that Moro had under his belt. As Moro decided to attack a planet owned by Cooler, to get his attention so he can eat some of his energy. Meanwhile, we cut to Beerus' planet. They all continued to train like they never trained before. As Goku and Vegeta continued to train more and more and more, they suddenly could feel a power source, a massive key in the universe that suddenly started to grow rapidly. And as it grew, other keys around it were destroyed. Vegeta and Kakarot looked confused. Beerus would say, "Is it him?" Whis would look at his staff and say, "Yes, my lord. I could take care of myself, but I think this will be a nice test for you guys and Cooler. It's time to take out Moro." Cooler would say, "Who is Moro?" Beerus would say, "He is like me. Except I just destroy because I'm mad or for fun. Moro does it for power. He can absorb energy, like many of the people you fought. But once he takes your energy, he takes all your life force and you die. And every time he takes energy, he gets more powerful and younger." Kakarot and Vegeta would both be worried of him. So would Cooler. Cooler wanted to see how powerful he is, but he had to stop him now, since he was gathering more and more energy. So, Cooler would decide to go with Kakarot and Vegeta to fight this Moro fella. As they traveled to the planet, they would arrive there, once a vibrant planet under Cooler's regime. True, Cooler was evil, but his planets thrived if they did what they said. But there was no one left. Buildings left ruined, life forms dead, nothing but drained bodies all around them. But suddenly they would hear footsteps as Moro would walk towards them. Well, 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 well. Isn't it Cooler? I should thank you. Because of you, I've been let out. And because of you, I will feed on this entire universe, becoming a god. Cooler would turn gold, charging at Moro and punching him straight in the face. As Kakarot and Vegeta were falling, suddenly prisoners would surround him, as Moro's minions would hold off Kakarot and Vegeta. They were strong. Each one of them had their own unique ability, and they were all extremely powerful. However, they were no match for them, but they did make a good distraction. As Moro fought Cooler, Cooler could feel his energy being drained. He could feel his life force fading, and Moro slowly turning younger. The more energy I eat, the stronger I become, and the younger I get. Thank you, Cooler. Thanks to you, I'll regain my youth. Too bad you can't look after this universe anymore, after you worked so hard to take it over. Oh well. On the bright side, all your work won't go to waste. All your work will go feed me like a meal. Cooler then whacked him with his tail and charged a massive supernova, throwing it at Moro. Moro absorbed more and more life force from him until he just kicked the supernova away. Moro then began to laugh. Foolish Cooler, it's over. Cooler would then yell, "It's not over. I refuse for it to be over." As his golden form went away, he was losing more and more energy. Kakarot and Vegeta defeated the prisoners. Most of them, anyway. Moro was still saving the android. Cooler then grabbed onto the planet and began to shoot a ki blast straight into its core. As it shook, it began to crumble. Moro would then quickly run into a spaceship, as Kakarot and Vegeta did the same thing. As the planet blew up, Cooler would fly away, with barely energy left over. Kakarot and Vegeta and Cooler would all meet up on a planet, a barren planet, where there would be no reason for anyone to go there. As they all met up, Cooler would then begin to breathe heavily. Goku would say, "What's the move? We go into the time chamber?" Cooler would say, "You can. I got another idea. There's this man named King Kai. Usually only trains pure-hearted people, but I got a deal with Beerus and the Supreme Kai since I had to stop Majin Buu. I'm sure he'll make an exception for me. After all, me ruling the universe is better than the entire universe being destroyed. But you two can do whatever you want." As Cooler then began to leave, Kakarot and Vegeta would sigh, as they would go into the time chamber and begin to train together. As that was going on, Cooler would begin to train with King Kai. Supreme Kai Shen made a deal where he can go into that other world even though he's not dead, since he did save the universe. Well, he is an evil tyrant, but he's better than Moro. And since Cooler would train with King Kai, he would eventually learn the Kaioken, but not the Spirit Bomb since he wasn't pure of heart. After he learned the Kaioken, Cooler would then begin to train with Goku and Vegeta in the time chamber. A few days would pass. A couple years for them, but not long for the universe itself. Moro would hit a couple planets, but not very many. As they all walked out of the time chamber, they had to come up with a plan. Sure, they were far stronger than Moro now, but he could just steal their energy and the same thing could happen again. So then he decided to get Deborah. It was time to fight fire with fire. As we cut to Moro, he was absorbing energy from the people all around him. And suddenly, he would hear footsteps. As he looked behind him, it was Cooler. Moro would look at him and say, "Back for more." "You really don't learn, do you?" As then an android would show up. The android would begin to copy movements as Goku fought him. As Goku fought him, Vegeta and Cooler would both fight Moro. Cooler would use Golden Kaioken, and Vegeta would use Blue Evolution, which pushed Moro back further and further and further. But he began to get more and more energy as he became stronger and stronger. Moro would say, "You can never destroy me. You can never defeat me. No matter how strong you get, no matter how powerful you become, I'll just take your energy." Cooler would then smirk and say, "Oh yeah? Well then let's fight fire with fire." As Moro began to get stronger and stronger, suddenly he would feel a sharp pain in his back. As he looked behind, it was Deborah. He still had one of those things that he used when he worked for Bobbity. As he began to steal Moro's energy, he fell to the floor. He felt his power being stolen and drained. Moro was shocked, and his younger body started to age. Moro then got pissed as he punched Deborah, sending him flying, nearly killing him. He got up, but then he fell back down, looking down at his aged self. Cooler would say, "Deborah's gotten quite stronger to survive a punch from you. You're a god-level threat. Maybe I should train him, make him my level." "It's over for you, Moro." Moro would look at him and say, "You idiot. Even with this energy stolen from me, I could just take it back." Cooler would say, "For you to do that, you have to be alive." As he would go Golden Kaioken and punch Moro straight into the sky, as then he would fly up and grab him, ripping off his arms, as Moro would cry out and scream, "Please, please, please don't kill me. I can work with you. I can be a good general. I can..." Cooler would say, "Shut up and die like a man," as he would then squeeze his neck with his tail until it snapped, killing Moro. As that was going on, Goku was still fighting 3-7. 3-7 copied all of his moves, but he got it down. As Goku defeated 3-7, Vegeta would look over to him, and Cooler would look down and smile. "I think we can reprogram him. He'll be useful for our empire. Now, pick up Deborah and heal him up. I think he can be useful too. I've really underestimated him. I think he'll play a big part in our regime." Vegeta would say, "Yes, he will," as he would smirk, as he would go down and pick up Deborah. As Deborah could barely even move, he would look up and say, "Sorry, I couldn't do more." Cooler would laugh and say, "It's fine. You taking his energy was enough for me to kill him." He got so cocky and arrogant, he didn't think someone could do the same thing as him. What a shame. Suddenly, we would cut to Granola. As all this was going on, Granola was looking for the Dragon Ball, and he finally found it, as he would summon the dragon and wish to be the strongest person in the universe. Granola felt this power. He had to give up most of his life. He only had a few years left, but these few years will be the best years of his life, because he'll spend it getting vengeance. He'll kill Cooler, he'll kill the Saiyans, and he'll no longer be controlled by the
Cut
heat.
to Granola. As Granola made the wish, he felt powerful. He felt the power reaching from his veins. He felt like he was finally the strongest in the universe. Makes sense, since he literally did a wish for that. Granola was ready to destroy Cooler, destroy Goku, destroy Vegeta for wiping out his planet. He would get revenge for the Tuffles and their planet. He would do it. He would destroy all of the Saiyans, once and for all. We cut to Goku and Vegeta. Goku and Vegeta were on Cooler's capital planet, consolidating power. Cooler was off training, trying to get stronger. Ever since Cooler met Beerus, all he did was train and fight. Cooler wanted nothing more but to destroy Beerus one day. Or at least take his title. Cooler honestly kind of liked Beerus, so he was hoping he would be able to challenge him and take his title peacefully as you can get in a fight. But if that didn't work, he would have to kill him, sadly. However, as Cooler was on a spaceship traveling through the universe, he would get a distress call from a far-off planet. As he landed, it was planet Vampa. As Cooler would look around, he would see nothing, a barren planet. But there were some life. There was no trees. There was no plant life. There was only monsters feeding off each other and eating each other. Spiders like parasites and giant monsters in the ground. Cooler would go through all of this, as eventually 2 men would appear, one old, one young. Paragus would say, "We're saved, son!" He would look at the 2 of them. "Who are you?" Paragus would say, "Are you Frieza?" "No, I'm his brother." Paragus heard rumors of his brother before he got sent off. "Oh, can you tell Frieza that we're ready to serve? We may have been exiled, but..." Cooler would say, "I can't. I killed him and took his place." This would shock Paragus, as Paragus would look at him and see that he's serious. But he wasn't too disturbed, since he really didn't have no connection to Frieza. He just wanted to work for him so he can get revenge. Broly would look at him and say, "Who is this, father?" He's Cooler. Your son looks strong. He could be useful for my empire. You guys should join me." They would agree to join, as Cooler got into the spaceship, and Cooler, Paragus, and Broly all began to fly off. Paragus began to talk about Broly to Cooler and tell him about his anger problem, why he has a shock collar on his neck. As that was going on, we cut to Granola, who was about to land near Goku and Vegeta. As Granola landed, he began to walk up the temple. As Cooler's forces tried to stop him, Granola easily sniped them all. 7-3 found Granola and began to copy all of his moves. Granola remembered 7-3. After all, that was the android he captured. However, Granola was easily able to take care of him since he was the strongest in the universe. It doesn't matter what technique he learned, he could do it better. As Goku and Vegeta both ran down, they saw Granola, as he looked at him with a serious look, ready to fight. Goku and Vegeta both went in their forms and charged at him, and began to push him with everything they had, but it wasn't enough. Granola would snipe them at all of their pressure points and began to beat them up. Vegeta would say, "Tuffle, I thought you were wiped out." "Yeah, your people wiped out my people. This is vengeance for what you've done to Tuffle kind. My entire planet left to ruin thanks to you Saiyans and Frieza's race. I make sure I'll kill Cooler and kill you stupid monkeys," he yelled, as he began to win the battle. However, suddenly, Cooler and Broly would land. As Granola was fighting them both, he would look over and see Cooler. Granola would pull out his hand and begin to shoot beams from his hands, trying to snipe Cooler. Cooler would turn gold and deflect them, but it took a lot of energy from him to do so. Granola would smirk and say, "This isn't even my full power. If you're struggling at this, you don't stand a chance against me." Paragus would see Vegeta and begin to get angry, but since Granola was fighting them both, he needed to bide his time. After all, he can test out his son on Granola. Cooler would say, "Broly, go fight him." As Broly would fight Granola, Granola would hit him into all of his pressure points and knock him down. As he thought he was knocked out, he would get back up and begin to get angry. As Granola fought Broly, Broly got angrier and angrier and angrier. Cooler would say, "Stop Granola from killing Broly. His potential was so great. We'll wait for him to get strong enough to kill Granola, then we'll shock him and knock him out." Goku and Vegeta would nod, as each time Granola would try to hit him with a killing blow, Goku and Vegeta would stop him. As all this was going on, Dabura would be getting closer and closer, hiding his ki, sneaking up on Granola. As then he began to spit. As Granola dodged the spit and said, "You think I couldn't see you, my little sniper?" He pointed to his eye thing. "Sees everything." As then he blasted the floor, as the ki blast bounced off the floor and hit Dabura right in the face, killing him instantly. "What a shame," Cooler would say. As the fight was continuing, Broly was still not winning. Cooler began to get angry. No matter how strong Broly got, he wouldn't win. True, he never really fought God level or anything, so this is very impressive. Broly did have a lot of potential, but he wanted Broly to win. Then he had an idea. As he looked over at Paragus and said, "Paragus, you're about to save us all." Paragus would look at him and say, "What do you..." Then he shot him with a death beam. Then he would say, "Broly, look! Granola killed your father!" As Broly would look over, he would begin to get angry as the entire planet would shake and his hair would turn green. He would be in charge at Granola, headbutting him,
As Granola would fall down and begin to bleed, Broly would then beat him up. Broly would lose consciousness completely. He was no longer a man. He was a beast, an animal, only caring about one thing, avenging his father. But slowly that went away too. He became pure destruction, as he would grab Granola and shove him into the ground and grab his arms, breaking it. Granola would shoot him in his pressure points, but nothing would work. Broly was just too powerful now, as then he stepped on his neck, snapping it like a twig. As Granola's lifeless body hit the floor, Cooler would pick up the remote and hit the button, shocking Broly, making him pass out. Cooler looked down and say, "Strange. How did he get so powerful? I didn't sense any God Key or anything like that coming from him. And Tuffles aren't known for their great potential. Interesting. Well, Granola might not be working alone. We need to be ready. Understood?" And Cooler would point straight at Broly as he was passed out. "This is what he's like when he gets angry, when he lets the beast out. You need to be stronger than this. Vegeta, you study Ultra Ego, the form of the gods, and Goku, you study Ultra Instinct." Cooler would then begin to walk away, as both of them look at him and say, "You really think we can master this form? Yeah, give or take. It might take a couple years. What are you doing? I'm going to go to the time chamber. I'm going to make my own path. A path of my potential, a path of my strength, a path of Ultra Ego, plus a new form I'm working on." A new form? Both of them look surprised. "Yeah. Let me know if there's any trouble. Come to the time chamber and let me out if you need me." Cooler would then fly off into space. As we cut to the Heaters would find the Dragon Balls and make the same wish. As Gas would become the strongest in the entire universe, but his body would start to decay. His body could not handle the power, so they had to act quickly, as they would begin to fly over to quickly attack the Saiyans. Goku and Vegeta would sense a high power coming towards them, so they would grab Broly and fall back. They would get into a spaceship and begin to fly towards the planet with the time chamber. As Gas and the rest showed up, there was no one there. Gas would hide his power so he wouldn't really decay, and they would wait for 10 days. Gas knew they would have to come back to their empire eventually. After these 10 days, Cooler would walk out of the time chamber and smirk. "What is it?" Goku and Vegeta would explain what they felt, and Broly would look up at him, and Cooler would say, "Hey, Broly, you have great potential. Let me show you what power can afford you. Power can make you strong. Power can give you something that nothing else can." Broly would say, "What? Brotherhood. Because of strength, we're all together. And because of strength, we take care of each other." Cooler would put a hand on his shoulder. "You're now my brother, Broly." And Cooler really meant it. Even though he killed his father, that's just because, well, he could tell his father wanted to get rid of Vegeta, and it just wouldn't really work out. So now with him gone, he actually can be Broly's brother. Cooler and the rest of them got into a spaceship and went back to their capital planet. As Gas and the rest of the Heaters looked at him, Gas would then go into his form. As his body began to decay, power came through his body. Power like no one's ever felt before. Broly, Goku, and Vegeta began to shake, but Cooler looked at him and say, "You think that's real power?" Cooler then would yell as his body turned to black. The entire planet, no, the entire galaxy shook from the power off of his body. Cooler then looked at him and said, "This power you have is decaying your body. It's killing yourself. That's not true power. True power is power that makes you better, that makes you greater, and power that pushes you further." Gas would then charge at Cooler Black, as Cooler Black simply grabbed his arm, ripping it off. As Black fell to the floor with one arm, he then got up and said, "I hate you! I will kill you!" Cooler said, "Shut up, mindless beast," as then he blew him up. Then, with 2 death beams, he killed the rest of the Heaters. With the Heaters dead, Cooler was victorious. "Now, it's time for us to train. My next step is to become the new god of destruction," Cooler would say, smirking, as Vegeta and Goku would nod. We cut to Beerus. Beerus would be on his home planet when suddenly Cooler would arrive. Goku's been training under Whis, while Vegeta's been training under Beerus, but Beerus hasn't seen Cooler in a while. Beerus would look down at him and say, "What is it?" Cooler would bow and say, "I want you to train me to be your replacement." Beerus was shocked.
Why would you want such a job? Well, it would make it so I can run my empire better, and I can keep peace within my universe. Besides, my powers have grown. Ever since I was born, I've trained and fought to become better, and that training has led me here. And I think I'm ready to become the next god of destruction. And I know you like to relax and eat, and I'll let you do that if you step down. Beerus would look down at him and say, to be honest, I've thought about stepping down for quite a while, but immortality sounds nice. I could just use the Dragon Balls on Namek to wish for that, and then I can relax. However, there's one thing. I refuse to give it to someone weaker than me. So, 5 years from now, I'm gonna train you, and if you can't beat me, I'll erase you. But if you win, you become the next god of destruction. Cooler would agree, as Goku, Vegeta, and Broly all looked on, shocked. They couldn't believe Beerus would make some sort of deal with Cooler like this. And Cooler would risk it. He would risk getting erased. He would stand up and begin to train with Beerus with Vegeta. Cooler would unlock Ultra Ego with Vegeta. And Cooler would train to push Ultra Ego with his black form. Cooler knew that this training would be grueling, and that he needed to defeat Beerus at all costs, and if he doesn't, he'll be gone forever. As Cooler was training, he needed a way to get stronger, so Cooler told Broly to fight him. Broly would charge at Cooler, and as they fought, Broly would slowly get angrier and angrier and angrier. As the anger bubbled up inside him, he became the beast that he was before, with no conscience, only death and destruction on his mind. However, Cooler turned black and punched him straight to the floor, and as Broly got up, Cooler began to toy with him. He began to push Broly further and further. He knew the longer he fought, the stronger Broly got. He needed Broly to get stronger so he can have a worthy opponent. As he was pushing himself, he saw his strength rise more and more and more. As it pushed his black form back, he turned Ultra Ego with it and began to charge a non-lethal Akai, hitting Broly, knocking him out, similar how Toppo did with an Akai and didn't erase Frieza. As this defeated Broly, Cooler would look down and smirk, realizing the full strength of his power. Then he would look at Goku and Vegeta. Kakarot and Vegeta has always been his true right-hand man. Ever since he can remember, they were rivals. Vegeta was the top of a Saiyan squad that worked with Cooler. And Kakarot, well, Cooler raised him since he was a child. Cooler always had a soft spot for Kakarot. Even though he was harsh on him, even though he trained him harshly and pushed him, and wasn't always the nicest to him, deep down, he did care for him a bit. He was one of the few people Cooler actually cared for. Cooler would look at them both and ask for them to fight him at the same time. I want to fight Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct. One perfect at destruction, one perfect at defense and balance. I need to defeat both of them if I even have a chance against Beerus. Goku and Vegeta would look at each other and nod. As Vegeta went Ultra Ego and Goku with Ultra Instinct, Whis began to watch and say, "Oh, now this will be a show." Beerus got popcorn as he watched with Whis. Vegeta would look at Cooler and say, "Are you sure about this? I know you're the strongest, but you're taking on." Cooler would then smirk and say, "Both of you, hit me with everything you got." Kakarot would use his Ultra Instinct and charge at Cooler. As Cooler tried to hit him, he would dodge all the attacks, and Vegeta would punch Cooler, causing Cooler to punch him back. But every time Vegeta took damage, he would get stronger. Vegeta would be on offense, and Goku would be on defense. It would be a perfect team, hitting Cooler in all of his pressure points. Cooler went into his black form and his Ultra Ego form, as suddenly he began to charge the Kais and shoot them everywhere. As Vegeta and Goku were forced to dodge, Cooler hit his power level and hid. Then he came right up, grabbing Vegeta and throwing him at Goku, hitting him. Cooler would go after Goku first, and even though Goku could move without thinking, if he was fast enough, he still couldn't dodge. But this used a lot of stamina. Eventually, he was able to put Goku down, but by the time he did, he was almost out. And Vegeta was right on his tail. He would have to put everything into one giant blast to defeat Vegeta. Then, after they healed up, they would do it again. Cooler would fight Broly, Goku, and Vegeta again and again and again. Day after day, they all trained and pushed each other. And they all fought Cooler. Cooler went through drooling training, mastering his Ultra Ego, mastering his black form, and pushing himself near death again and again. As the first year passed, Beerus would look at him and say, "It's time to spar. After each year, I'll give you a little sparring match until the 5th year. That's when things will get serious." Beerus then showed off
his full power, 100%. Cooler turned black in Ultra Ego, and at first he stood a chance, but as the fight went on, Cooler just got pummeled. Beerus would hit him in all of his pressure points and grab him by his tail and whip him around, hit him into the floor hard. No one's ever reached this power before. I can tell you're 30% of my true power. That's amazing. No mortals reach that level. However, if you want to surpass me, that's not going to be good enough. You need to get stronger, Cooler. Beerus would say as he broke both of his arms. Cooler would then yell out in pain as he cried out. As Beerus went back to his base form, Beerus looked down at him and say, "This will be the worst 5 years of your life. You'll go through the hardest training you've ever experienced before. Your bones will shatter. Your body will break. And most likely you'll be erased. But there's a small chance you'll win." Eventually, 5 years would pass. After all this training, after being broken and put back together again and again, after fighting Beerus, Broly, Goku, and Vegeta, finally they were ready to fight each other. Beerus would turn 100% full power, but Cooler would do the same thing. As they both looked, Beerus says, "Ready to be erased?" "Are you ready to be put out of a job?" As they charged, they would punch each other, and this punch would be so strong it would shake the entire universe. As the entire universe shook around them, Beerus would look at Cooler and say, "Do you know why I became a god of destruction?" Cooler would ask, "No, I don't. To be honest with you, I respect you as a person. You're strong, stronger than anyone I've ever met. Not counting the angels, of course, but just, you don't seem like the type. You just like to relax and have fun and blow things up. So why would you become one? Simple. The last god of destruction gave me lip and destroyed my race. Me and Champa survived, luckily, so we decided to become gods of destruction, so stick it to him. And I killed him." Beerus would then sigh. "Oh, I'm sorry," Cooler would say. "Don't be. It's alright. Besides, my race lived on in a couple other universes. And to be honest, Cooler, I like you. You remind me of me." "Really? You had a brother that you didn't really like. Of course, I didn't kill mine. And even though you had differences and things, you still continued on. And look at you. You have achieved a power beyond anything else in this universe, just like I did. If you lose and I erase you, I will never forget you, and I'll sing your name to everyone I see. And I'll make sure this universe remembers you forever." Cooler would laugh and say, "Thank you, but that's not gonna happen. Once you lose your job, I'll make sure they remember you forever." As then, Beerus and Cooler began to go at it, both super evenly matched. Neither of them could gain an inch on the other, pushing each other with everything they had. As Beerus would charge a massive Akai, he would throw it straight at Cooler. It would hit Cooler and begin to erase him, but Cooler would say, "No, I won't not die. I will not be destroyed. I will not be erased," as he pushed into a tiny ball and threw it at Beerus with all of his might. Beerus was barely able to block it, as then he kicked Beerus down. As they both battled, the battle lasted for hours, then days. Both of them went at it with everything they had, pushing each other with every bit of energy they had left. But eventually, after all the pushing, after all the battling, after Cooler hit Beerus and all of his pressure points, after all the Akais, the entire universe kept shaking more and more and more and more. But before the universe could be destroyed, eventually, Beerus lost, as he fell down to the floor of his planet. Cooler would land beside him, breathing heavily. As Whis would go over to Cooler, suddenly a god of destruction symbol would appear around his neck. "You did it, Cooler. You're now a god of destruction." Cooler would turn back, as Goku, Vegeta, Broly, and all of his subordinates were watching him. He then thanked them and said he leaves the Empire to them. He's gonna need a full time to be a god of destruction. As Beerus smirked, he said, "That was the best fight I ever had. I'm glad I lost to you." And they both shook hands. As Beerus left, he got the Dragon Balls and wished to be immortal. And Cooler would rule as a god of destruction. Cooler's empire brought peace and order. Sure, it was brutal, but this peace and order was enough to raise the mortal level. Universe 7 was greatly improved, and Cooler was a great god of destruction.